How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper, and my goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading, whether price is going up or down. Secrets unveiled as Caroline Ellison prepares to testify against FTX's Sam Bankman-Fried. There are two other people that could have had testified before her, but because SBF's defense keeps trying to repeat questions and slow down the proceedings, they're trying to speed that up by going through and asking people with different experiences that are related to the whole FTX crisis. According to a report by the Wall Street Journal, FTX had offered to pay $5 billion to LedgerX chief risk officer Julie Schoening, who seemed reported to have discovered the backdoor that allowed Sam Bankman-Fried to siphon funds from the crypto exchange Alameda Research. Schoening is believed to have been offered the sum in exchange for her silence, especially considering that she had been fired not long after she brought up the discovery of the backdoor at her boss's notice. So once she brought this up, she got canned pretty much. Wang took to the stand again, revealing that FTX's issuance fund was fake as well, and that the company just portrayed it by multiplying the daily trading volume by a random number around 7,500. You know, just a small random number. Instead of coming clean about this event, Sam Bankman-Fried allegedly told Wang to have Alameda Research take on a loss rather than recording that on FTX's balance sheets, because that would make investors more prone to leaving FTX if it was put on FTX's balance sheets, and it would further investigations, whereas people weren't really looking at Alameda. Accessing FCA's warning list and what it means for HTX and KuCoin users. So those of us in the US, we had to get off KuCoin a couple months ago because they weren't compliant in the US, and now they're not compliant in the UK. The UK's FCA has updated its warning list, compromising of companies that are operating without permission. Huobi and KuCoin have been added to that list, with the Financial Regulatory Authority advising users to avoid dealing with these firms. So they're telling people to stay off them, and they're also not protecting you. With these exchanges added to the list, customers of this crypto platform will not be able to access the Financial Ombudsman service. It is a free service that settles complaints between customers and financial service providers, and that means that financial complaint against HTX and KuCoin is not admissible. Additionally, customers will not be able to be protected under the Financial Service Compensation Scheme. This UK government introduced scheme compensates users who've lost money because of a collapse of a financial firm. So they're pretty much saying these firms are going to collapse and we're not protecting anyone for their losses. So if you're on KuCoin still, get off. But over on our Dixie for the daily, we are getting a little bit of a push. We tried to hype up and push our EMA level. We did not cross above it. We got rejected, so this could be indicative of a push to the downside yet to come. Our momentum is starting to round out. Money flow is starting to push out. The stochastic's coming down and the VWAP is continuing down. So we haven't really gone anywhere today, but we got rejected by a resistance area. If we get rejected again or see a stronger red candle tomorrow, it is likely we could start the break of this support level. Over on our total, we have a harsh rejection with a manipulation X, and our EMA levels are crashing down. So we could see continual price action to the downside. I have been warning about this. We did come up, get our retest, and now we are starting to reject. If we continue with red candles at this point, now that we have rejected our support levels that we had above us, and they are now resistance levels, then we will see further price action down, and we will see this pattern play out, and that'll bring us down to around this 250 area. Our RSI is starting to bend down rather aggressively. Stochastic's pushing down with a bearish cross. Our momentum's pushing out. Money flow is pushing further down with a bearish trend, and our VWAP is aggressively pushing down as well. So we do have potential to see a pretty sharp decline from here if we don't get any green candles and break these three resistances above us. Over on Bitcoin dominance, we are pumping up. We've got about a third of our move. Stochastic is starting to round away. RSI is trying to push up though, it has as much strength as it can have. Our momentum's continuing forward, but still looking like it wants to round, as our VWAP is still trying to drag above that neutral. If that VWAP doesn't lift off and continue forward, then this momentum wave is likely going to start to come back down. Our money flow is pushing up pretty decently with this pump, but it's starting to round away, so I would exercise some caution. We're pretty high as of relative time. If you go back here, we were higher. So if we are able to push higher and push above, let's see if this is kind of a resistance, about 10 or 11. So yeah, back here we had about that 12. Back here we had about 11, so it was a decent resistance and support zone that did maintain this zone. But once we started to lose all these zones, we did overall start to lose out. We are making a recovery as our price action didn't maintain in the bearish action for very long, but if it continues, our dominance could start to slip. Now, dominance could still go up while the rest of the market goes down, because people could be selling off their altcoins into stablecoins and then withdrawing those stablecoins and leaving their Bitcoin. So dominance for Bitcoin could be going up due to that or other reasons. Over on our Bitcoin futures, we are staying within our flag. We wanted to go up, we have a green dot, so if we get a green candle tomorrow, we could form a bullish pattern here that could push us forward and away from this bear flag. Our momentum is rolling away with a red dot, our VWAP is pushing under, and our money flow is struggling to get above this 18, so if it doesn't get above this zone and we see it roll over here, we could maintain this bearish action and see this lower gap fill around that 26,350. Our VWAP is slightly in the bearish territory, so if that continues, that could drag us down. I look to the lower time frames to see if that'll happen. Over on Bitcoin, we did get a pretty decent move today. We got about half of our breakdown from our symmetrical triangle, but we did not maintain it. Stochastic is starting to push out, momentum is starting to roll away with a red dot, our VWAP is pushing this bearish territory, and our money flow is in the bearish territory as well. If that VWAP and money flow continue down from here, and that momentum doesn't get some lift off, which it won't if that VWAP doesn't go up, then we are likely going to see price action start to slide from here. Real quick, if you haven't already, smash that like, hit the subscribe, and join us in that Discord. Again, last call this week. Anyone that gets in the Discord for this week will get a free one of them statues we showed last night. RSI is overall pushing out, Stochastic is pushing down. It does have a bullish cross, so the Stochastic does want to make a rebound here. We are retesting our symmetrical triangle though. So if we do not push above and get back in the next candle or two, we are likely going to push out and see further price action to the downside. This indecision candle isn't really being followed by a bullish strength, so that's what you want to look for, is some sort of bullish strength to form either here on the 4-hour or our lower time frames. Our money flow is maintaining above this neutral. It is in the bullish territory, so that is good for a continual move up. Our VWAP is trying to break the neutral, so if our VWAP can break through here, that will give us bullish strength. If that happens, our momentum would start to pick up, and with the money flow being bullish, that could try to help us break above and fill the higher part of this triangle, which is why I have not deleted this triangle even though we pretty much got our breakdown, because we're in a bit of a manipulative area. Over on the 2-hour, you can see we tried to come up on 2 candles, they did get rejected. We are starting to round out, so keep an eye on that. If we push away from this EMA level, it is likely we'll see lower price action. Our Stochastic is starting to round away, RSI is starting to come down, and our VWAP is starting to roll away. Money flow is in a bit of a bearish trend as we're getting lower highs and lower lows, so if that continues, we're likely going to push under from here. If you see, this EMA was respected as a medium trend, like in between the trend support resistance area, so that is why one of our members requested something about EMAs and mentioned it, or SMAs, but I'm showing the EMAs because they're a little more quicker. Over on the 1 hour, we are starting to push away, so watch out. The EMAs are also included in this free Market Cipher A, so if you're using TradingView like we are here, get that Market Cipher A and Market Cipher B. They're both free. The people that develop those are really great, and the tools are amazing, especially since most people pay $100 for very similar tools. Stochastic's starting to roll away, RSI is going pretty flat. VWAP is pushing under, it wants to go toward that neutral and break to the bearish side, so I would watch out for that. Our money flow is trying to push this neutral, so if our money flow can break through this neutral and push up, that would be good for us, but we're going to want to see that VWAP curl up with that, so we could get a strong bullish move up. However, if this VWAP breaks down and the money flow starts to curl out here, the money flow would start a bearish trend and the VWAP would start to peak into the bearish territory again. It wouldn't be a bearish trend for it yet, but it could be the start of one. Over on graph for the daily, we are starting to push down. Just watch if we form a double bottom here and get pushed up. If we got a green candle tomorrow, that could give us that possibility. But we are overall pushing away and still have this flag possibility. RSI is starting to drag down, Stochastic's starting to head down with a bearish cross. Our money flow is trying to break through that neutral, but it just can't get through, so we could get rejected and see lower price action from here. Our VWAP is starting to round away and the momentum's dragging down as a result. Over on the 4 hour, you can see we have that possibility for that double bottom. Stochastic is pushing down, RSI is pushing away. That Stochastic is pretty beat down. It's likely going to just flatten out if it rides this oversold area. Our money flow is in a bearish trend, and same with our VWAP as we're getting lower highs with lower lows, and the momentum is pushing out. So overall, this 4 hours not too strong here. If we see these lower time frames continue bearish action, then we're likely going to fill the rest of this flag instead of push up. Our Stochastic does want to head up, RSI wants to head up, our VWAP is in the bullish territory, so that is good for us, but it's not very strong and it's starting to roll. So I would keep an eye on it, because if it rolls away and pushes under that neutral, it'll start a bearish trend that could just drag us under. Our money flow is overall in a deep bearish trend and wants to keep dragging us under. It's likely going to just ride this zone, as we really haven't been this low on money flow for quite some time. So that is a signal it could come up, but even if it comes up and maintains this bearish range, we would still have that bearish trend, so I won't get too hyped up. Over on the 1 hour, we are trying to get kind of a stair step up, but we keep rejecting with the stair step down. So if that pattern continues, we could just keep edging our way down here. Stochastic is trying to run up, but it's not really bringing the RSI anywhere with it. That VWAP is struggling to get a new high here. It's at about 6, so if it cannot break through this zone, it's likely going to roll over, head toward that neutral, at which point if it makes a lower low, that would start a bearish pattern that could drag into our higher time frames. Our money flow is overall pushing away from the neutral and in a bit of a bearish trend, so that could drag us under, especially with the way some of our other indicators on our other like total and things are looking. Over on Anchor for the daily, we are pushing the bottom of our flag, so I would keep an eye out on that. If we push below this, we will fill this gapped area that I've been talking about for almost a week now, and quite some time before that as well. Stochastic is starting to get a bearish cross and wants to push under. RSI is starting to head down. Momentum's getting bearish divergences, bringing us down with a red dot as our VWAP breaks into the bearish territory. The money flow is heading toward that neutral and wants to break toward the bearish territory as well. So if that money flow breaks down and that VWAP maintains bearish action, we could see a pretty strong leg to the downside. This is pretty much correcting this big move up. Usually when you have a big move one way or another, you get corrective action. So we could come back down and correct this big pump up that we got here. Over on the 4 hour, we have a manipulation X that brought us down. We got a pretty harsh rejection. That is a pretty textbook rejection there. We have an example of that in our Discord. So again, smash that like and hit them links. Stochastic is heading down. RSI is pushing out. Momentum's in the bearish territory, pushing down. And our VWAP is in danger of rolling over here. So we could see further downside. If that VWAP rolls over, it's likely going to bring this money flow into the bearish territory, at which point we'll see lower price action and break this support. Over on the 2 hour, we do have a little bit of a gap to the upside that we tried to fill. So we could come up, try to fill that, and then we could get smacked back down after we do fill that. Stochastic's pretty beat down. RSI is dragging on here. It is pretty flat. If the stochastic stays down where it is, the RSI is likely going to break and push lower, as we're just above that neutral territory. Our money flows in the bearish territory with the VWAP trying to break bullish. If this VWAP rejects here, we'll likely see another push to the downside and a pretty strong move. Over on the 1 hour, we did come up, kind of filled one gap, but we still have a second gap. So we do have a possibility to jump up, fill that gap, possibly form some sort of weird symmetrical triangle, which would be a bear pendant as well, that could push us to the bearish side. RSI is overall pushing out. Stochastic does want to run up, but our VWAP is testing that neutral. If that VWAP breaks down, we're likely going to see a pretty decent push down, and this gap could be filled later. Our money flow is in the bearish territory and starting to roll away. We are in a slight bullish trend though, so that is good. If that maintains, we could see price action to the upside. However, these green candles are getting pretty indecisive, so that move to the upside may be pretty exhausted. I would watch for lower lows on this money flow. Over on XRP for the daily, we are getting a pretty strong rejection of our point of control, and we are starting to break out of our flag. Stochastic is starting to push down, RSI is starting to push away, the momentum starting to drag under, and the VWAP is carrying some significant strength down. That money flow is in a bearish trend as we're getting lower highs with lower lows, so that could drag us lower. We did get a pretty strong wick though, so this could show that sellers tried to push us all the way down here around this 48-cent zone, but the buyers were able to maintain this 50-cent zone. If we are able to push off this 50-cent zone and continue up, that would leave multiple wicks to the downside to fill, 3 of them, and we could retest this zone here. But if we start to get a red candle, we're likely going to hit the value area low, probably fill this wick at the same time, at which point if we don't gain support there, we will fill this lower wick at that lower price target, which on our bigger volume profile is around the point of control. Over on the 4 hour, we are trying to come up, break this resistance, so we want to make it support. If we can get through and break this resistance, that would be positive for a move to the upside. However, if we start to see red candles after this candle, it is likely we'll get rejected and see that first possibility I just mentioned before. RSI is overall getting lower highs and starting to roll away. Stochastic does want to make a bullish bounce here, but we're in jeopardy of rolling away if our other indicators don't pick up some steam. This money flow is in the bearish territory pretty decently. The VWAP is pushing bullish, but it's not really pushing very strong. We do have a new high, so that is positive for us after getting new lows, so that could break a bear trend. But if we just roll over here, this could just be our trend right here where we have a low, a higher high, and then we just continued. This could have just been a freak break to the upside. We'll have to kind of watch how these lower time frames look. Over on the 2 hour, we do have a potential for a bearish engulfing candle to form here. Stochastic is starting to kind of round away, so I would keep an eye on that. If it rounds away here, that RSI is not likely to make a rebound, and that kind of curve it has is likely going to take over. Our VWAP is starting to head down, our money flow is starting to push away from the neutral, and our momentum is starting to curl as that VWAP's losing strength. So I would keep an eye on both these things. If that VWAP continues down and the money flow continues with a new low, we'll start a bearish trend on money flow and get a pretty decent move to the downside, as both things would start a pretty decent move. If you haven't noticed, usually when the money flow and VWAP cross together, they make a pretty significant move. Stochastic is starting to roll away, RSI is starting to kind of taper off as it's about to lose some strength. Our VWAP is starting to head toward that neutral, so we are in danger of breaking to the bearish side here. I would keep an eye on that. If we do make a bounce, we would have a bullish trend though. Our money flow is trying to push up with a bit of a bullish trend, so that is good for the 1 hour, but we're starting to make a lower low here, so if we come up with a lower high, we could start a new bearish trend, so I would keep an eye on that. Momentum is starting to round away with this VWAP pushing down, so I would keep a close eye on all three of these on these lower time frames. Over on Algo for the daily, we are losing our value area low. We are pushing toward the bottom of our flag, much like everything else. RSI is starting to head down, Stochastic has a bearish cross and wants to push down. Our momentum is overall pushing out, and the VWAP is in a bearish territory. It is about to make a bearish trend as we're getting lower highs with lower lows as well. That momentum does have a red dot because that VWAP's in the bearish territory, so that momentum's in the bearish territory as that dot's right here at -3. Money flow, if that breaks bearish, then our daily would all be in a bearish trend, and we would see probably a significant move down, at which point we would look at filling this kind of 7-6 zone where we have that candle wick and our lower Fibonacci and our breakdown point. Over on the 4 hour, you see we have a manipulation X that brought us down. We are trying to push up, but we're getting a bearish engulfing candle now, so that could break us away. RSI is starting to trend out. Stochastic did make a bullish cross, but that's struggling to gain some weight, and it's starting to roll over. The money flow is starting to reject away from that neutral in a bit of a bearish trend, so I would keep a close eye on this. Our VWAP is trying to trend up, but it's starting to kind of round away here, so I would keep a close eye. If that VWAP starts to roll away and that money flow continues down, we're likely going to see resumed bearish action. The momentum does want to round up, but with that VWAP struggling, that could start to straighten back out, so I would watch the lower time frames. Over on the 2 hour, we're starting to kind of reject away after making a bearish engulfing candle or a tweezer top right here. We are getting a confirmation candle that could end up dragging us lower. RSI is starting to drag away. Stochastic's in danger of making a bearish cross, which could drag that RSI even lower and make it break that neutral and push into the bearish territory. Our VWAP is starting to roll away after getting some bullish strength, so we could resume a bearish trend here with our VWAP. That money flow also is in a bearish trend as we're getting lower highs and lower lows. We did break into the bullish territory, but that didn't last very long. Finally, for the 1 hour, our Stochastic's starting to round away. RSI is starting to taper off. Our VWAP is testing that neutral and wants to break to the bearish side, and the money flow is starting a new bearish trend, and the momentum is starting to roll away. If that money flow maintains this bearish trend and we see a lower low form, that would be dangerous for us, especially if that VWAP breaks bearish. If both those things happen, we'll likely break this support zone and possibly see those lower price targets that I mentioned fill at a later time. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I hope you have a wonderful night.